everyone, and welcome back to the podcast of Justice, the show where I talk about gaming news and wrestling news all in one nice, neat little bowl, because, you know, I like both of them. Anyway, so this is episode 3. I have a lot to talk about today, so let's just jump straight in here. As usual, we'll go with the video game stuff first, and then move on to the wrestling stuff last. Okay, so, first of all, apparently Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, or Microsoft, however you want to look at it, has announced that they are at least considering an upgradable Xbox sort of every couple of years, somewhat akin to a PC. So this is very interesting. I'm wondering if Sony are going to announce something similar, because, you know, if Microsoft start having an Xbox that gets more and more powerful, Sony are going to lose their power edge, which is what I think is the reason that a lot of people pick the PS4 over the Xbox One in the first place. So it seems like they're thinking about doing this sort of every couple of years or thereabouts, and that way they can keep the Xbox One around maybe for a very long time. And it seems like what they're thinking about doing is, the way it's going to work is that your old Xbox isn't going to become outdated in the sense that you're still going to be able to play the new games, but you just might not have as good of a frame rate, and you might have less graphical options, because we've seen some games come out on consoles, like The Division, I believe, have graphical options, which is kind of cool. And I think, The Last of Us on PS4 had an option to have... It was weird. You could either pick to go back down to 30 FPS, or you could stay at 60. Why on earth you would pick 30 over 60? I have no idea. I don't think it increased the graphics, because that's the only reason. Maybe you would go for 30 if you could have better graphics, or 60 with the worst graphics, but I'm pretty sure it was just an option for the frame rate, which, again, very strange to me. But yeah, sounds cool to me, man. Some people have been complaining about it, being like, oh, I don't want to do that, because if I want to do that, I'd be a PC gamer. Well, yeah, but equally, I think there's still a market for this. Again, you don't have to do this. From what they're saying, assuming that they're not lying, and this is Xbox, so they could be lying, again, it seems like your Xbox isn't going to become outdated. You are still going to be able to play new games. If you don't really care about performance and stuff like that much, then you don't have to do it. But if you do care about performance and stuff, you can buy the upgrades. Again, this isn't even confirmed. They've said that they are thinking about doing it. I mean, it's confirmed that they've said it, but it's not confirmed that they're going to do it. It's just something they're looking into. Alright, next up, Lionhead Studios, also more Microsoft news here. The guys behind the Fable series have been closed down by Microsoft, as well as Press Play, and I believe something like 6 other studios, or maybe 4 other. It was either 6 or 8 in total, I don't remember. But I don't know, frankly, what Press Play ever did. I'll be honest, I haven't heard of Press Play, but I've definitely heard of Lionhead. Again, they're the guys behind Fables. They were working on a new Fable game called Fable Legends, which I think was very different from the other ones. I don't know what it was exactly. I feel like it was some sort of MOBA-esque thing or something like that. I know there was a lot of backlash from the Fable fans that were like, this isn't a true Fable game! We don't want this! Oh boy! Which, I mean, I understand that. It would be kind of like if they brought out Dark Souls 4 and it was a MOBA, I suppose. You'd be like, well, tain't really a Dark Souls game, you know? So I get why people are angry about it. I don't know, I just like doing the Mickey Mouse voice. But anyway, so unfortunately they've been shut down by Microsoft. There was kind of an apologetic letter like, you know, we didn't want to shut them down, but essentially trying to say, hey, these studios are really cool and we like them and they've done a lot for the gaming industry, but yeah, you know, we're shutting them down. So, yeah, they've been shut down. This thing is just a very small note. I doubt it's true, but I heard, and this is like second-hand, third-hand information, because I heard it from someone who heard it from someone else, and I doubt this is true, but they said that it's rumored, at least, that Dark Souls 3 might be locked at 30 FPS on PC, because they're talking about console parity. I don't think they're going to be that dumb, especially considering they didn't do that with Dark Souls 2, but hey, I thought I'd just throw that out there. Just in case it happens, I can be like, hey, I said that. I was the person who mentioned that. I mean, I don't want it to happen. It would really suck. But let's be honest, even if it does happen, there'll be a mod by Durante in like 12 minutes or something to fix it. Right, so this is something, not so much, well, I guess it kind of is news, but I was actually going to talk about this topic before the news really came out. The news is that Bear Simulator has been taken off Steam by the developer. Apparently it had 79% positive feedback, and it was a 30 grand Kickstarter that actually raised 100 grand. So, all in all, pretty successful game, you know? But really, there was also a lot of negative reaction. Despite 79% positive, these people obviously fucking love their bears. I saw a video of it. This game looked mediocre as balls. There are definitely worse simulator games out there, but it looked mediocre as shit. I was going to bring this up in the first place because here's the thing. I couldn't give a shit about playing as a bear. But for those that could, if I really was going to play as a bear, there are certain things that I would want. This simulator, from what I could tell, was basically you run around in, like, you know, an open field, wilderness type thing, and you can eat food. That's about it, really. If I was going to make a simulator, or at least play one, what I would want is, it's got to look really nice. And yes, I know it's an indie company and it's probably like one dude made it, but I don't really care. If I'm going to be... The point of a simulator, okay, is to simulate something. So a bear simulator is to simulate that you are a fucking bear. I can't get into something like that if it looks ugly as sin. If I don't actually look like a bear, and the wilderness I'm running around doesn't look kind of realistic, like it doesn't have good graphics, I'm not going to be able to get immersed in that. So the whole simulator thing falls right through. It seems pointless to me. If you can't be immersed in it, it's not really a simulator. So that's the first negative. It should have looked better. Also, if you're going to simulate a bear, the way I would have done it was, first of all, don't just have you walking around eating apples and shit like that. Have an actual hunting system in the game where you can maybe... you know, like in Witcher 3 where you have, like, scent that you can follow? Something like that. Maybe you could follow, like, the scent of a small fox or whatever the hell bears eat. I know, like, salmon and shit. Maybe hunt down a small animal, track it to its burrow, dig it out, murder it, stuff like that would be kind of cool. And have you be able to hunt in rivers and catch salmon as they're... or leaping salmon. You know, catch things in rivers, stuff like that. And... Another thing I think would be really cool is have the option to either start as sort of an adult bear or start as a bear cub. And then you could progress through the bear's life, have your parents kind of look after you for a little bit, and then grow up and sort of venture out into the wilderness, try and catch your first salmon and shit like that. Maybe have, you know, other hunters, other bears that you have to be wary of. That would be very cool. Maybe even humans that are hunting for bear pelts. That would be an awesome aspect. And then eventually have your bear grow up, and then you can mate... You know, find a mate, have all that programmed in properly. And I realize this is expensive and difficult to do, but again, this is what I'm saying. Like, if you're going to make a bear simulator, make it fucking good. And then be able to mate, have your own cubs, and then protect them. And then eventually have your character get too old that he dies off. Or maybe you get killed by another bear or something. You have, like, different outcomes that can happen. You know, don't have it just be static. Have it kind of like an open world sandbox thing. Like, maybe you do die because you get hunted down for your pelts. Maybe you die to another rival bear. Maybe you just die of old age. But then when you do, have the option to play as one of your cubs, should you have one. If not, have kind of game over, you can start again. And then you could progress through like a bloodline of bears. And yeah, I mean, it would technically kind of be never ending that way. And I think that would be kind of cool. Again, I know that would be expensive and difficult to do, but I don't know. Like, this guy took it off Steam because of the negative reaction. Are you really surprised? If all you can do is run around as a bear and eat fucking apples and random pizzas that are lying around in boxes, because yes, you could do stuff like that, it's nothing like what I just described. To me, that would have been a bear simulator. So yeah, that's just kind of my thought process on simulators. A lot of them just, the people making them don't seem to know what the fuck, like, it seems like this guy was passionate about wanting to make a bear simulator. I'm not passionate about wanting to make a bear simulator. I don't even really want to play one. And yeah, I just came up with all of those ideas. That's kind of my point. Like, if you're gonna make a game, have some good ideas. And if you can't implement most of the stuff that I just mentioned, don't make a bear simulator, because it's gonna suck. So there you go. Anyway, so I'm sure a lot of you heard about this, but apparently, just a quick note here. The map of Far Cry Primal is pretty much a copy-paste of the map of Far Cry 4. If I remember to edit in the video, but I probably will forget, I'll put a picture showing them. I mean, they look different visually. Like, obviously, they've changed, like, the trees and the grass and blah, blah, blah. But, like, the actual shape of the landscape is a copy-paste. Like, they've copy-pasted the land and then redecorated it, essentially. I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, obviously, it's very fucking lazy. And, yeah, I mean, if Far Cry Primal was maybe not a full-price game, I could understand this. But it is a full-price game. And this isn't like a little spin-off like Blood Dragon. It may be a spin-off kind of Far Cry, but you've fully priced it, so stop being fucking lazy, Ubisoft. Like, you have a lot of money. This is a company that released Rainbow Six Siege and The Division within, like, a couple of months of each other. Two very big titles. They're the people behind Assassin's Creed, and they've got Rayman, and so many other big franchises. You know? They're a rich, very successful company with lots of people working for them. How hard would it have been? I mean, I've messed around in the creation kit for Skyrim, for example. I know how easy it is just to put down a few rocks and shit like that. And if it's not that easy for you to edit your own landscape, then the tools that you're using to do that suck. It's as simple as that. So, stop being so damn lazy, I guess, Ubisoft. Alright, so next up, Nintendo are giving... I've mentioned this on stream a couple of times, but for those of you who don't know, a quick note, Nintendo are giving away a Celebi. It's level 100 in a Cherish Ball on the 6th Gen games, which is X and Y, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire. If you go to Mystery Gift at the main menu, you can get it. I got it. Make sure you go get your Celebi. I think it ends, like, tomorrow or something? And by the time this goes up, that will be today. I'm recording this on the 8th, Tuesday. I think it might end on the 9th, Wednesday. So, you might just about have enough time to get this in. I'm going to talk about a couple of movies very quickly. First of all, the Ghostbusters trailer. If you haven't seen it yet, I'll put a link in the description to it. It's the new Ghostbusters movie with an all-female cast. Let me just get this out of the way, because this seems to be a sticking point for a lot of feminists. Women are awesome, okay? I have nothing against it being an all-female cast, but this movie looks fucking terrible. That was one of the worst trailers I've seen. The CGI looked really bad. None of it was funny. I didn't even crack a smile. Well, actually, no, I cracked a smile at the black chick bitch slapping the woman on the floor twice. Because, you know, I'm a sadistic son of a bitch. It just amused me that she got hit twice. That was the closest I came to cracking a smile. It looked horrible. It was very clearly a comedy. Not a funny comedy, but a comedy. It was intended to be funny throughout. Yes, Ghostbusters had funny parts. Or, you know, comedic parts. Maybe you didn't find them funny exactly, but like when Venkman gets slimed, for example, that was supposed to be funny. And yes, there are some comical ghosts and stuff like that. But there are also very serious parts, like the librarian, and, you know, Vigo, the Carpathian, about to sacrifice a little baby. Well, I guess Vigo's sidekick, the painter fella, about to sacrifice a baby to bring life to Vigo. There were some very serious parts. This just looks like a crappy comedy. Last time I checked, I think it had like 171,000 thumbs up and 364,000 thumbs down. I have never seen that kind of negative reaction. If you go look at Anaconda by Nicki Minaj, who's one of the most hated musicians currently today, 2 million up, 1 million down. That's a 2-to-1 favorable reception there. This has almost 2-to-1 down. That's kind of fucking staggering. In fact, that's more than 2-to-1 down, isn't it? Unless I'm doing the math wrong. I'm pretty sure it is. Again, that's staggering. That's absolutely staggering. Again, I'll put a link in the description to the movies. You can go check it out. It's ridiculous. Also, one more quick movie I want to mention, and I'm going to spoil the shit out of this. So I'll put an annotation on the screen so you can skip ahead if you don't want to hear this. I'm going to spoil Terminator Genisys for you. Me and Kirsty watched this movie. This movie fucking sucked. It was bad. And it wasn't even like Mortal Kombat, kind of so bad it's good. It was just bad. And it wasn't one of those things where I'm like, oh, you've ruined the franchise. The franchise hasn't been good since 2. 1 and 2 were great. I actually prefer 1 to 2, but I seem to be in the minority there. Probably because I just kind of like Arnie playing the bad guy rather than the good guy. Though 2 was a close second for me. Those 2 movies are amazing. 3 was meh. It wasn't horrible, but it was just meh. The girl was hot. I mean, I can look at hot women online if I want to, you know, it doesn't bother me. Number 4, Salvation. I actually kind of liked it. I don't think it was anywhere near as good as 1 and 2, but I thought it was a decent enough movie. Even though I'm not a fan of Christian Bale. I'm really not, but I still liked it. I thought it was a good movie. Terminator Genisys. Again, I'm going to spoil this for you, so again, I'll put something in the description or on the screen or whatever to tell you where you can skip to get to the WWE news, because that is what we're going to be doing next. I'm going to spoil this movie for you, and trust me, you ain't missing nothing. Yeah, spoil most of it in the trailer, by the way. Okay, so let's see. It starts with in the future with John Connor sending Kyle Reese back in time to protect his mother, just like in the first movie. Except, as Kyle Reese is getting teleported back, a Terminator jumps out of the crowd of people that are watching and just clamps onto John's face. And Kyle's like, no, and then gets teleported. And then after Kyle gets there, it turns out that old Arnie, because apparently the Terminator's gonna age, old Arnie has been protecting Kyle's mother, not Kyle, what am I even saying? John's mother, since she was a kid. So, yeah. Sarah Connor has had Arnold Schwarzenegger, a Terminator, protecting her since she was a kid. It's not really even explained how that happened. It's just he showed up one day and helped her. And he's been protecting her ever since. And she calls him Pops. Arnold Schwarzenegger is in the movie as an old Terminator, referred to as Pops. They have like a mother-daughter relationship. It's weird. By the way, Sarah Connor is played by the chick who, I forget her name, but she plays Daenerys in Game of Thrones, the Khaleesi. Hot as fuck, that woman. Hot as fuck. Just thought I'd mention that. Anyway, so that's kind of stupid in my opinion, but not the end of the world. So they're rewriting history because of time travel and stuff like that. They're saying, this stuff in the first movie doesn't mean shit anymore. Okay. It's dumb and stupid, but I don't really have that much of a problem with that. My problem was this movie was boring as shit and really nonsensical, and not even just from the stuff that I've just mentioned. So then Kyle Reese is teaming up with Sarah Connor and Pops, quote-unquote. And this Asian Terminator shows up, who's melty like the T-1000. He gets killed off almost instantly. So, Asian Terminator, he's done. He's gone. Doesn't matter. Just inconsequential. And then they time travel, I believe, to the future? Correct me if I'm wrong. To stop this thing called Genisys from launching. And Genisys is apparently Judgment Day. Turns out Genisys is an operating system that's going to work on everything. Phones, PCs, blah, blah, blah. It's a universal operating system. So that's how everything is going to get infected, and then the machines rise up and overtake. I'm fine with that part of the story. But that's where the sense ends. So they go to the future to stop this Genisys from launching, and they find out what it is. But then in the future, there's John Connor. John Connor, who got grabbed on the face as Kyle Reese was getting sent back. And he's not super old John Connor, he's time-traveled as well. Or at least that's what you would assume. And then he's like, oh, Mother, and Kyle Reese, and, you know, they embrace him, blah, blah, blah. And then Pops, quote-unquote, comes out and, I forgot to mention something, but I'll go back to that. That was near the beginning of the movie that sucked as well. But again, let's keep on track here. He comes out and he shotguns the fuck out of John Connor. And they're all like, no, you murdered my son. And then John gets up and he's melty T-1000 as well. So that's weird. And then my assumption was, okay, so he's a T-1000, but he must be a good guy, right? Nope. John Connor is the villain of this movie. Which is fucking, like, the savior of mankind is the villain now. That's really stupid. But, okay, I could have accepted that. Again, if the movie was at least entertaining, but this movie was boring as fuck. So he gets up, they have a bit of a fight, they escape. Blah, blah, blah. And then, essentially, a whole lot of nothing happens. And then my biggest problem with this was, within maybe 30 seconds, they're like, oh, John's a bad guy. Pew, 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 and just start shooting the shit out of him. Kyle finds out just before this happens, by the way, that he's actually John's father. So he now knows this is his son. Sarah obviously knows it's her son. And they're like, yeah, fuck it, we gotta kill John. So they just start fighting him. And then they escape. And then pretty much nothing is said about it for the rest of the movie. Like, you would think these people would be just devastated that their son has been turned to the dark side, because you find out, because apparently Arnie somehow knows this, that John is now working for the machines, and it also turns out that John is the one behind the Terminator Genisys, program that's gonna cause Judgment Day. So, John's a bad guy, and they don't even really seem to care that much. They're like, alright, they just accept it. They're like, alright, we gotta kill our son. And then, at the end of the movie, they kill John Connor, and, that's it. Kyle Reese lives, which is against what happens in the first movie. Good word break. I'm so fucked up by this shitty movie that I can't even speak. John Connor dies. He's gone. They've stopped Genisys. Except time travel, so it'll all get fucked up again. It was horrible. It was just terrible. Also, the thing I forgot to mention at the start of the movie, old Arnie fights a young Terminator who looks like young Arnie, who is obviously CGI. And at first, when he's not moving, looks really good. I was like, you know what, it looks like young Arnie. But then they have a fight. Old Arnie fights young Arnie. And it is the worst fucking CGI I've seen in a long time. It looked so bad. So bad. Terrible movie. Terrible. Alright, so let's move on to the WWE news. Okay, so let me just start this section by saying, I know a lot of you have been also listening to the WWE part and aren't WWE fans, like don't really know anything about wrestling. I appreciate that. That's cool. A lot of you have mentioned that you still like hearing me talking about it because it's interesting to you even though you don't really understand what's going on. So let me extremely quickly cover a couple of things. Yes, WWE is, quote-unquote fake. It's all staged, it's all showmanship. It's not like UFC. UFC is actual combat sports. But I like it. It's kind of like a soap opera with athletical fighting and strongmanship and stuff like that. I don't know. I like it. It's all about the characters for me. Anyway, so quick heads up. Heel means bad guy. Face means good guy. Those are pretty much the only wrestling terms that I'll use on a regular basis that you might not have heard of. The rest of them, if I use a term, I'll explain it. But eventually you'll get it. Right, so anyway. Becky and Sasha Banks, who, by the way, are two of not only the most fucking beautiful women I've ever seen in my goddamn life, especially Sasha Banks, holy shit, that lady. Anyway, but she's also incredibly talented as a female wrestler, the best one on the planet in my opinion. Becky is also extremely good. They had a double pinfall on Raw. It was a number one contenders match, so basically what that means is whoever won would then go on and face the champion at WrestleMania. WrestleMania's coming up in April, I believe, like the beginning of April, and WrestleMania is the biggest pay-per-view of the year, without a doubt. It's WWE's biggest show. It's going to be in Texas, and there should be about 100,000 people in attendance. It's a big fucking deal. So being at WrestleMania is a big deal. So this was a number one contenders match to see if Becky or Sasha would go against Charlotte, the champion. We all knew Sasha was going to win, but apparently they want this to be a triple threat, which means, a three-way match. Oh god, a three-way. Anyway, so they ended in a double pinfall, because that was the way they would do it without having, one actually be the contender. I don't really have a problem with a double pinfall, but the way they did it was very stupid. Like, I think Sasha did a sunset flip powerbomb off the turnbuckle, and then landed Becky, and then she just fell backwards. And then they just both got counted at the same time. It didn't make any sense. I mean, they could have explained it and maybe said, Sasha hit her head on the way down and she got a concussion or got knocked out, and that was why she got pinned as well. Like, they needed to explain it, because it looked really stupid on TV. But again, I don't have a problem with a triple threat match, because Becky is also incredibly talented and deserves to be at WrestleMania. So I'm okay with that, but just the way they did it was not great. Then they had a rematch on SmackDown, which Charlotte interrupted. So again, there was no winner. And then it was just announced, like, hey, you're going to be in a triple threat match. So again, I'm cool with that, but they could have done it much better. Oh my god, here we go. Speaking of things they could have done much better. Right, so I've written notes here. Let me put it this way. I'm recording this Tuesday. Raw was yesterday on Monday. Raw is WWE's biggest show of the week. So this is the very next day from Raw. Raw last week, I wrote some notes here. AJ and Jericho teaming, obvious backstabbing coming. Everyone knew this was going to happen. Basically, AJ Styles is a wrestler who has been around for like 18 years or something ridiculous. He's known as one of the best in the world, but he's only just arrived in the WWE. Chris Jericho is also one of the best in the world, but he's kind of getting on a bit. He's like 46 years old. He's kind of like a dad now. He makes dad jokes. He's not funny. He's a bit over the hill. Even though back in the day, Jericho was one of the coolest, up there with The Rock. But Jericho's just, anyway. So, Jericho and AJ had some matches. AJ won the first one. Jericho won the second one. AJ won the third one, the rubber match. So it's 2-1 AJ. And then they did this whole like, I respect you and I respect you too. Let's team up. And then they teamed up. No one wanted to see them team up. People wanted to see AJ in a one-on-one match at WrestleMania. Most people wanted to see him against Kevin Owens, who's one of the most entertaining guys right now. And he has the Intercontinental title, which is like the secondary belt. So, a lot of people wanted to see him fight for the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania against Kevin Owens. Would have been cool. No, they did him teaming up with Jericho to challenge for the tag team titles against the New Day. Long story short, they lost the match because Jericho got pinned, and then Jericho attacked AJ after the match because everyone saw that coming. I knew it was going to happen, but I didn't want it to happen because now it's going to be Jericho versus AJ number fucking 4 at WrestleMania. We've seen them fight 3 times. We don't care anymore. You're not that interesting anymore, Jericho. You used to be one of my favorite wrestlers. You're not that interesting anymore. Let AJ go against someone interesting like Kevin fucking Owens. God damn it. So yeah, it's frustrating. Very frustrating. The plus side is that yes, AJ Styles gets a match at WrestleMania. One of the biggest of all time. That's good. And Jericho isn't a bad opponent. Again, he's still one of the best, even though he's getting up there. But it's just not interesting from like a storyline perspective. The match will be good, yes. But we've seen it 3 times. We don't need a 4th one. Where's my Kevin Owens match, god damn it? So yeah, I'm not happy about that. Alright, so here we go. I mentioned the whole Undertaker versus Shane McMahon thing and how it made no sense. So they had Undertaker come out on Raw with Vince McMahon announcing him. This was the point at which they could have said... Well, and this was the last week, by the way, so I'm just going over this very quickly. This was the point at which they could have actually explained it. Explained why Undertaker was willing to work for Vince, because Vince is the quote-unquote bad guy, and Taker is a good guy, and good guys don't help bad guys. What did they do? They just had Taker come out and say, well, I do what I do at WrestleMania, so he essentially said, whoever you put in front of me, I'm going to beat them, even if it's your son, and the blood will be on your hands. That was the most half-assed explanation I've ever heard in my life. It's so disappointing. Like, you could have come up with something better, man. I could have scribbled something on the back of a napkin 10 minutes before Raw aired that would have been better than that. Like, fucking hell. So, no real explanation, just like, yeah, whatever, if I have an opponent, I'll fight them. Cool, thanks for that, Undertaker. Thanks. And then he choked Vince, as he said it. And when I say choked Vince, I mean he very clearly, very delicately kind of placed his hand on Vince's chest. It didn't look like he was choking him at all. It was the most tame thing I've ever seen. And then, of course, when Taker let go, Vince was like drinking water and being like, I've been choked. I'm Vince Kennedy McMahon. You're fired. Yeah, so, I mean, he didn't do the fire thing. But, yeah, basically, the choke looked extremely weak, and Vince should have known that and not played up that he got choked. Like, it looked shitty. That was annoying to me. And you may notice, this is mostly me complaining, because WWE give me a lot to complain about these days. This podcast is a way for me to vent that. Next week, as in yesterday on Raw, there was a very weird backstage segment with Ziggler and Stephanie McMahon. Stephanie McMahon is Vince McMahon's daughter, Shane's sister rather. And she is also married to Triple H. Yes, not interesting storyline. She's actually married to Triple H in real life. And they have kids. So she's a shareholder in WWE. She's one of the people in charge of the company. So backstage, she basically said, like, hey Ziggler, I saw on Twitter that you were complaining about the Authority, which is them on TV playing bad guys, essentially, like her, Triple H, and Vince playing the bad guys, and it's very boring and no one likes it. And basically he mentioned on Twitter, apparently, that he beat Team Authority a couple of years ago to put them out of power, but then they came straight back. Which is true, yes he did, and blah blah blah. They came straight back, because apparently they don't know when a storyline's bad. So they came back, which sucked, and she essentially punished him by just putting him in a match with, what do they even got? The League of Nations, I think, which is like a bunch of European people. A stupid team that has no purpose. Which I also wrote that down here. The League of Nations serves no purpose. It's just, I don't need to go into it any more than that. It's just, there's no point in them being together. They have no purpose. They have no heat, which heat means getting booed. No one's booing them, even though they're bad guys. No one's cheering them. No one cares. It's just, they're pointless. It's doing... Everyone in that group is worse off from being in that group. It is the most pointless thing. Well, up there with some of the other stuff. I just found the backstage segment very weird, because what they've always done on TV with the Authority is, you don't disrespect the Authority or you get punished. Which, yes, she kind of punished him by putting him in this match, but it just seemed very weird. Like, he was being very blatant with her, like, just rude. Which, normally they'd just be like, oh, I'm going to fire this person, like, storyline-wise. It seemed very weird to me, very out of place. Lana came out with no shoes on, who also staggeringly beautiful, but more importantly than that, she did a fucking wrestling move. She did a sit-down facebuster on Brie Bella. And by the way, I hate Brie Bella's music. Brie mode! Oh, sends shivers down my spine. And just thought I'd point out, I'd like to have Lana sit down on my face, not with the buster part. Anyway, League of Nations serves no purpose. I said that's... Alright, so... The last note here is what I already mentioned. Jericho with a super obvious turn on AJ, predictable, and no one wanted it. Yeah, I think we'll just end it on that. WWE, I'm sure WrestleMania will be entertaining, but you could do so much better. You could do so much fucking better. It's kind of ridiculous. So, I'm trying to think of something positive I can say regarding WWE. I got nothing, man. I got nothing. everything is going the way everyone thinks it's going to go, which sometimes is fine. Predictability isn't always bad, but when you're predicting things that you don't want and it happens, then it's bad. Like, I don't want Jericho and AJ feuding. I want Kevin Owens in a substantial match, and that hasn't happened yet. I want the Authority to leave. I wanted an explanation as to why The Undertaker is supposed to be helping Vince the bad guy. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how the hell they play out this match, because I feel like they're just digging themselves a really big hole with this match, and I don't know how they're going to get out of it, because Undertaker, for those that don't know, has only ever lost once at WrestleMania. And again, this is a big deal, you have to understand. In pro wrestling terms, Undertaker losing at WrestleMania is a big fucking deal. He's only lost once, and that was to Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar almost never loses. I don't think he's been pinned since he came back in like 2009, 8, somewhere around there, maybe a little bit later. But I don't think he's been pinned. So, yeah. That's why they had Brock beat Taker. And to this day, a lot of people hate the fact that Taker lost. I think he was on like 21-0. So then he was on like 21-1. I think he's on like 23-1 now. So, out of the 24 years that he's been attending these WrestleManias and having matches, he's lost one of them. So that's why it seems incredibly unlikely that Shane would beat Taker at this year's WrestleMania. Especially, even without you considering the fact that Shane isn't really a wrestler. He's had matches, but he's not really a wrestler. So it doesn't make sense in that terms, plus it's Taker. Plus, it's in a Hell in a Cell match. A Hell in a Cell is another match that Taker almost never loses. So, how can Shane win? And if Shane doesn't win, I don't know what they're going to do. Because if Shane doesn't win, then Shane doesn't, storyline-wise, get control of Raw. And people want to see him get control of Raw just to mix it up, because Raw's been very fucking boring recently. But if he does win, then Taker's losing again at WrestleMania, and in his home state in Hell in a fucking Cell. So he's going to be like 23-2 or whatever the hell it is now. I don't see a good outcome for this match. I don't know what they can really do. I mean, I see Shane winning, but with some serious shenanigans. But again, if Shane doesn't win, people are just going to be disappointed. But equally, if he does win, they're going to be disappointed because Taker lost. I feel like there's no good way to end this match. So I'm just, out of morbid curiosity, I want to see what happens at WrestleMania, because I don't know how they're going to get themselves out of this. I feel like they've dug themselves in a very serious hole here. Okay, so that about wraps it up for today. It's surprising to me how quickly this went. I think we're only at like 30-something minutes, and we covered a lot here, like a lot of gaming news. We talked about movies, movie trailers, and all of those thoughts on pro wrestling and what happened this week, and even some last week, and we even talked a little bit about SmackDown and WrestleMania, so I don't know how the hell I did it so quickly. Maybe because I'm extremely hungry because I haven't eaten yet, and I've been awake for about 8 hours, so yeah. Pretty fucking hungry. So, yeah, very quickly, one thing I should mention, because I always forget to mention this, I do have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/MrAndersonLP. You can go there if you want to financially support me. It helps out a great deal. I really do appreciate it. Other than that, go follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/MrAndersonLP, and twitch.tv/MrAndersonLP, in which I'm currently live streaming my New Game Plus run at level 1 of Dark Souls 1, which is kicking my ass. But, we're getting there. It's very difficult, but we're getting through it. But yeah, anyway, like I say, everything's Mr. AndersonLP. Thank you for joining. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed it, I always appreciate a like. Good night, everybody, and have a good day.